welcome to our Technology Educator meeting for November 12th of 2025. It is really nice to be with you here this afternoon. I appreciate you all joining, whether that's in person now or if you are watching the recording later. We're really happy to have you. The housekeeping things, those of you who are joining us live on the call, like I mentioned there a moment ago, in the chat, you'll see two different links. They are the same links that you see on this slide here. So it's a link to the slide deck as well as to log your attendance. And then I'll have a link to the slide deck in the description of this video once it posts to YouTube as well. So check it out down there. That way you can see all the cool resources that we have. All right, welcome to our collaboration. My name is Matthew Mays. I'm a digital innovation consultant here at the Stark County ESC and at Spark. I am really happy to be here with you. We have a lot of fun things to discuss today, and here is our layout for this meeting. Okay, first, we're going to do our normal setup stuff just to kind of help get things rolling. Second is my favorite part. That's where I get to stop talking and you all get to share. So that's our group share section. Three, we're going to do our deep dive. Today, we're going to talk about some features that you may or may not know exist inside of Google Gemini. And then in that fourth section, we're going to talk about some upcoming events that you want to be on the lookout for. So first and foremost, this is a safe space. So we welcome everybody, no matter what your tech skill might be, no matter what your individual role within a building might be. I'm just really happy that you're here. So feel free to unmute and ask your questions or put them into the chat or whatever makes you feel most comfortable. This is a safe space, and we always welcome people who say, I don't know that, but I'm happy to learn. So during these meetings, we share our best practices. We share more than anything. That's part of the fun of our community is, creating and sharing those things out with everyone else. And then ultimately, my hope is that you take the things that we discuss here and share them back with other awesome people within your district. So today, obviously, is November 12th. You'll see that we have two other meetings planned for this year, one in February and then one to end our year in April. Both of those are Wednesdays. Both of those meetings will start at 4 o'clock. All right. For our group share, I will just kind of help get the ball rolling with two articles that have come across my desk. I thought they were kind of interesting. The first one here is titled, Can I Upload That? This is from TCEA's Tech Notes blog. Basically, trying to wrap our minds around the conversation of what is okay and what is not okay to feed to our AI tools. So I think this does a really nice job. Part of the problem is, and is right here in this section heading, is that at the moment, this is still somewhat of a gray area. So this document is giving us best practices, giving us some of the things that we want to communicate to our students as they are using these tools. But ultimately, it is at the moment kind of up to us to police this as much as possible. So I wanted to share that with you. I think it does a really nice job of discussing this and helping students understand like what is okay and what is not okay, what things mean if they're in the public domain as opposed to things that are just created, and ultimately like how that might play out in terms of modern day digital citizenship. So I really like that, just to kind of help start that conversation with your students if you have not done so already. And then just another article that came through. This is probably something that I'm going to discuss at our next meeting, the larger issue of it, but I just saw this come across yesterday. And it was one of those things that I think, like, as we are heading into the holiday season and as we are seeing kids who, acquire different things, this research here basically talks about the students' need for buying to feel belonging. In terms of the past, I think about my childhood where at a certain time it was like, oh, you have to have this starter jacket or the thing that has this team or this certain brand. And that was a little bit easier to police because obviously it's here in the physical world and we can see those things. But what this research quantifies is that this is now in the digital space. So I wanted to hang on this image here because really now we're talking about buying pluses in the games or in the environments that our students are on. And so while we aren't necessarily telling our kids like, hey, you should go on Roblox and do this thing, right? We know that those things that are happening at home ultimately bleed into our classrooms. And so this is kind of one more area here, and I'm going to go to page 4. This is like those key findings. Basically, just a really quick rundown is essentially our kids are using these extra things to their avatars as kind of like social currency. So, my character has this piece of armor or this special thing, and your character doesn't. Therefore, I am better than you, or my character is better than you. And, I don't want to be friends with you, or I don't want you as a part of my, club in this game, or you are lesser than I am because I have this thing and you don't. Like I said, this is kind of just that bleeding into, the digital space of things that we have seen in the past. The larger article, and like I said, what we'll talk about likely in February, just talks about like the drive of like social trends as well. And I think you all probably know my feelings on like TikTok and all like the social challenges and whatnot. And I'm sure you're all sick of hearing your kids say 6, 7 and every other thing. So, seeing those kinds of things and how prevalent and how widespread those can be. When we were little, I have no idea how, but every parent knew to tell their kids like, oh, you can't drive with the lights on in the back of the car because it's against the law. And somehow every single parent across the country knew that. It was like the parenting network, spread that. So I don't know how we did it back then, but obviously we can see so quickly how things are spreading, across the country with these social trends. And in this gaming space, what we're seeing is your students are basically looking past some of those red flags of, oh, I shouldn't be doing this, or I shouldn't be giving money to this thing. But in order to feel belonging, or in order to be a part of that community that I want to be a part of, then I'm going to do this thing, or I'm going to give this money, or I'm going to click on this thing that I probably shouldn't, but it tells me that I'm going to get this thing if I do. It seems too good to be true, but I'm going to do it anyway because I need to. So those key findings go into that a little bit. So just a little bit from me to get things rolling. Is there anything that any of you have seen that you would like to contribute to our meeting today?
I've noticed that in Google Drive, is it okay if I go?
Please, don't ask. Yeah, don't ask, please.
They now have the option to start a new Google Vid. And I just recently had like a little bit of a workshop on using Google Vids through our Tech November Fest that we have at Alliance City. And I have a link. How do I share a link?
Yeah, so if you put it in the chat, put it into the description there in the chat, and then I'll pop it onto our slides.
Now I can't find it. What do I do with it? But I have a link to directions on how to use Google Vids that I will put as soon as I find it. But it was it's a lot of fun, and there are a lot of creative ways that you can use it to make the teacher life easier, but also to have a big impact on students, even communicating with parents. You use AI, to generate these videos. I don't know. It's pretty powerful.
Yeah, so it's almost like Google Vids is almost like a supercharged version of Google Slides. So I think if you are familiar with slides, or if you like slides, there's a lot of like skill overlap between those two. And essentially, I mean, it's right in the name, you would use it to create those videos for yourself too. So we're going to talk a little bit about Notebook LM later in this meeting. And I think you'll see some similarities in the videos that Notebook LM can create for you and some of the features that are available in VIDS. I jumped on here real quick to confirm, just to make sure, VIDS is a part of the core services, which is really nice. If you think back to our conversations about like student data privacy and whatnot, Google has said that anything that is one of their core services is on the up and up. That's, one of the good things that we can share with our kids. And I just jumped on to confirm because I know like when it was first introduced, it was not a part of that. So I'm glad to see that they've slid that into that space too. Okay. That was awesome. Thank you, Kim. And then once you have that link, if you want to share that in the discussion area of this call, make sure to put it on the slide, or you can email it to me too, if that's easier for you.
I just put it in the, am I still on? Yeah, I put it in the
Perfect. Yeah,
chat.
you're good.
Was there a,
Awesome.
that's awfully long. Is there a shortcut to do that? I don't know.
No, it
There you
works.
Yeah,
go.
you're good.
That's
I
the
got
long-
you. I got you. Don't worry. My hope is that when I do this, it'll say, do you want to rename it? And then I'll just say, yes, I do want to rename it. But I didn't see that, so that's okay. We'll call it Google Bids Demo. Okay, thank you, Kim. All right, anyone else have anything that they would like to share? Something fun that's come across? Doesn't need to be revolutionary, just, hey, have you seen this? Or did you know about this? Those are always great too.
Has anyone ever used button-operated floor robots like the Bee-Bot or the Code and Go mouse? No, I just been doing a lot of reading on them in like preschool settings, and I was wondering if they could be adapted into special education settings. It's a way to supposedly teach coding and programming principles without using screens, which appeals to me, especially for kids who are not engaging with anything on the screens right now.
Okay, has anybody used those in practice? Okay, I have. I don't have kids in the classroom at the moment here at the ESC, but I have always found them to be really engaging because they're, I guess, like leveled down to those early elementary grades, just like you said. And
it takes the abstract concepts and makes it very concrete. It's very direct.
Yep. I was gonna say, and it's I do this and this thing is immediately happening. There's very little lag, or they don't have to look at the computer and wait for the simulation to run or to do the thing.
And it's arrows, so they're not even looking at letters or numbers necessarily. So if they don't have literacy or numeracy yet, it seems very special education friendly.
Yep, for sure. And I think most of them have some sort of like card or set of cards that come with it to kind of help you build, the grids or whatnot, the courses that you want the kids to make their way through. So, they have the arrow shapes almost on the cards, are the ones I'm thinking about with the B specifically, where, each kid has their own little set of cards, or, I mean, you can make them if you needed to, but they then lay out whatever that like protocol would be. So lay that out in front of them to know, okay, if I need 2 right turns and then a straight and then a left turn, you would put those in order, hold your little robot and, make those button presses, you set it down and then, off the little thing goes. So I have seen a lot of success with that. In terms of engagement, it's just then how do we take that into the coding world, or making that next step with those next few grades once we're done there.
Okay, I'm very interested in that. So
yeah,
I don't think that's the same thing as bringing a resource. It's bringing an interest and curiosity.
Yeah, so definitely getting to spark them, huh?
Hopefully.
Any other fun resources, websites, articles, anything that has come across any of your computers?
I had a disappointment yesterday. I don't know how many of you are elementary education here, but ABC is no longer free, just out of the blue. Tuesday it was free. Yesterday, only 6 free games a week. And I have a handful of teachers in my building that use it heavily. So it was disappointing. That's all.
Yeah, that's a bummer. One thing that I have seen on like the dashboard side of things is companies are making a very clear line between their free versions and their paid versions and what they will support with each. In terms of like their student data protections and whatnot, especially where basically like, yeah, we will have protections in place for you, or we will protect your data and allow you to, reclaim it. But now that's kind of part of our paid feature, or our paid services. So that's one thing that some of the companies are doing in order to keep afloat isn't the right word, but to make sure that they at least are getting a little something out of the deal as well. And unfortunately, that's kind of a bummer. Okay, let's shift into this next section here of asking questions, bouncing ideas. Anybody have anything that they want to ask the group about or need more assistance with? All right, well, at any point in time, you can stop me. We can come back to it. But let's go ahead and transition into our deep dive for today. And just like I mentioned there, I'm not precious about anything that I do. So if you have a question, just unmute and start talking, especially as we get into some of these product features. But for today, I thought we would take a closer look at Gemini and some of the things that Gemini has available for you. Okay. Now, with Gemini, I want you to remember that this is Google's AI product. So basically, this is their competitor to ChatGPT, which sort of, burst onto the market about 3 years ago now. And since then, Gemini has been adding all kinds of new features, really engaging things for us in that education space. I want you to know that Gemini is a part of Google's core services. So this is a safe place for your students to go to if they want to use their AI tools, as well as like if you wanted to work with student data, Gemini would be a place that you could go to make that happen. ChatGPT is not a place that you would want to go to make that happen. They are not signing those student data privacy agreements, and they are using conversations inside of ChatGPT in order to like train their models and in order to look through with all the developers behind the scenes. Like your data is not safe inside of ChatGPT. So not saying one product is better or not, but I have been tending to use Gemini more just because I know that I can kind of speak freely with it because all the things that I would say to it would be safe. So I've been using Gemini a lot. I've been using Notebook LM quite a bit too, and we're going to talk about that as well. But this is a resource that Google put out, and I think we touched on it in our previous meeting. But if you click that little link chain with me up here in the top right-hand corner, that's going to jump you out to this slide deck. And essentially what this is the developers of Gemini have basically given you this really nice workbook to figure out how best to use Gemini. So it's really cool in that they have like thought of everything on how to best utilize their tool. So to get things started, I'm going to scan forward to slide 14, and we're going to pop this up here. Now, in my recommendations in the past, I have been saying like, a prompt has 3 really good parts. Tell it who it is, tell it what you want, and then include all the extra details. This structure supports that. It's just a little bit more in depth and I think better. So I've been shifting my recommendations in terms of like what makes a good prompt to include this acronym, and that is parts. So in order to have a good conversation with an AI tool, you need to have the right parts. The P is for persona. So it's the same thing as what I've always recommended is, tell it who you want it to be or how you want it to think. A is the act, meaning what is this thing that you actually want to create, or what is the purpose of this conversation? And then really what they've done is broken out that step 3, those like all the extra important details. They've broken that up into 3 different sections. The recipient, meaning who is going to get the benefit of this conversation, or who are you creating for? The theme can be a couple different things. So basically where is this in terms of the learning? What else might this be connected to? So if you're talking about science concepts, what other concepts should it know? Or where are you going? Where are you heading with all of this? And then last is the structure. So if you're expecting 5 paragraphs, tell it you want 5 paragraphs. If you're expecting a bulleted list, tell it you want a bulleted list. If you're expecting 10 points in a bulleted list, tell it 10 points. These are all things that we can do after the fact. But if we nail the prompt up front, then that's going to save us time on the back end when it comes to actually refining down the things that we're looking for. So I really like this slide. I think it's really nice how it connects the colors up to an actual prompt that you could use. That way you can really connect the dots there to see exactly what this might look like for you. But as we continue on this slide deck, they really get into a lot of important pieces. So I want you to know that I'm probably going to be jumping back and forth quite a bit with our slide deck, the one that I provided here for you today, as well as this 100 ways. So just know that everything that we talk about is also back in our notes as well. So from here, I thought it might be helpful to just kind of get a flavor for what this document is actually going to do for us. So to get started, they talk about the different uses or use cases that an educator might want to use Gemini for. And you can see those up here in the top left-hand corner. So these are all prompts, all examples of things that you could do in a planning phase. You can see that goes then into assessment and beyond, into instructional materials and so on and so on. But what's really nice about this particular slide deck is if you'll notice in the prompt area, these are all underlined. These are all hyperlinks for you to start building your own prompt library. So you can see here, just as an example, this one says, student-facing handout creation. You are an instructional assistant for a 10th grade English language arts teacher. Create a student handout that teaches how to identify themes in literature. Include a short passage, guided reading questions, and a reflection prompt. That's a nice prompt. If you wanted to see it, all you would have to do is click on it, and then it's going to jump you out to Gemini where that prompt has already been baked in and the conversation is already starting. So you can see what that prompt is here. You can even edit that prompt if you want to with your little pencil here. And this is basically just showing you, well, if I did a prompt like this, what might it look like? So that as you are ready to do this on your own, you could just copy this prompt, or you could edit this prompt, put in your information, and then send it through as the conversation to have this really nice resource built for you. Okay, so I can see all of these little pieces and parts, all the things that I would come to expect. If I were doing this for real, remember, you always have the ability to continue your conversation down here, and you always have the ability to export this out into Docs or into Gmail. So with that one-click share button, you know that you can push these things out elsewhere. So really nice, easy ways, like I said, to build up your own library. So my hope is that as you are coming back to your generative AI tool of choice, that you're starting to see patterns, or you're starting to see oh, okay, I typically use this quite a bit for this task or for this role, or to do this thing, so that you're not trying to create these prompts from scratch each time. And with that, I would hope that as a collaborative team, maybe that's grade level, maybe that's like content level for those of you who are in, some of those upper grades. I hope that you're building these libraries together with each other, that you're sharing prompts. Part of the reason why we're doing all of this is to save time and is to be more efficient. And the only way that you can do that, or the best way that you can do that, is if you're sharing these items with each other. So once you have those really rocking prompts and you feel good about your conversations, now we can kind of turn the dial up on things that are available to us inside of Gemini. So this is the slide deck that I shared with you, and I just borrowed this from one of the slides in the 100 ways to use Gemini. And this is all about guided learning. So inside of Gemini, you can begin to have these guided learning experiences either for yourself or with your students. And this will then basically walk you through learning a particular topic or learning a particular concept. So, as you are working inside of these tools, know that if you go down into the bottom area, so I'm just kind of looking like where I would normally type, you'll notice that there are a couple extra buttons. The plus sign is going to allow you to add your own materials, right? You can upload your own things. And then we're going to see a couple quick hit buttons down here that will allow us to do, some different things. Inside of that, we will see guided learning. And I'm going to jump to this next slide here before we jump over into Gemini to take a look at it for ourselves. But this slide here basically walks you through how to find it and the things that you would want to put inside of your generation. So this is just Google Gemini. You would go into Tools and then select Guided Learning. Okay, notice that we also have create images. We also have Canvas here. I can see some of those buttons down here as well. So create my image. That's actually called Nano Banana, and we're not going to talk about that one today. But if I were creating images, know that this is a really good place that you could do it. It's a safe place to do it. And for whatever reason, that was the demo name for the tool was Nano Banana, and it just stuck. So that's why they call it that. So if I wanted to, I could choose Guided Learning. And from here, I could say, teach me about how birds fly, or teach me about any concept that you can think of. And it's going to walk you through the process. It's going to have activities waiting for you. So it's not just basically here's everything that I know, I'm speaking as the AI tool. Here's everything about that, figure it out on your own. It's actually going to walk you through the process. It's going to show you graphs and charts, and it's going to ask you questions to see if you're understanding, to really get to that deeper learning level. So I think that is really fun, really clever. There is an example here in the 100 ways where it's actually walking you through what that might look like in terms of student use. And then it's giving you some examples. So things that you might want to do with it, some homework help, coding help. We see some exam prep, there's some study prep, as well as just to explore and learning more about any given topic. So really great opportunity. Now, we did an example of a moment ago in which we had it create questions for a doc, right? It was, talking about teaching the themes in literature, and it looked like this, right? So it's kind of creating all of these things. Now, I could have used another feature inside of Gemini called Canvas to make this happen, in which it will actually create that Google Doc for me or that sheet for me. And new, as of last week, it now has the capability of creating Google slide decks inside of Gemini. This was something that in the past, and for many other tools, it would create the content for the slides, but not necessarily the slides themselves. And now, like I said, as of last week, it was almost a week ago here today, we now have the ability to actually create those slide decks for us. So this is a really terrible prompt. I just said, create a presentation on notable children's movies of the 80s, 90s, and 2000s. And then it has created the slide deck that you see over here on the right. I could have said, I want to learn more about these specific movies and given it those movies. I could have said, talk about these particular themes with these movies, and it would have done that as well. I could have said, here's the content for a slide deck. Create a presentation that's going to include pictures and whatever and connect all the dots. And it would have done that for me too. So basically consider what you want your slide deck to look like. Consider the pieces and parts that you have. Remember down here in the bottom left-hand corner, you have this plus sign, so you can add files that you've already created and it can modify those as well. But you aren't done, right? Like this is not a complete slide deck. I can still come over here and ask it for modifications. So like I stopped on this slide in particular, because if you'll notice, 2 of those 3 have the little orange icon, but Shrek doesn't. So I could say on slide 10, add an icon or add an orange icon up above the title Shrek to match the other 2 orange icons that are on the page. Make it a princess crown, make it a donkey, make it, whatever you can think of to connect it up there to Shrek. I haven't seen that one in a while. So those 2, I think, are pretty relevant to that movie as of the last time I saw it. I'm hoping that's still the case. So know that you can continue to modify those things, but with a better prompt at the beginning, we will get down to business much faster. From here, right? Once our slide deck is created, once we've asked for those modifications, once it looks like it is in good shape, I have the ability to export this directly to Google Slides, at which point it will become a Google slide deck, just like every other Google slide deck that I've ever created. So in a very expedited fashion, you can get the ball rolling on slide decks to help your kids understand a whole number of topics. This is something that, like I said, just rolled out. So if you don't have it available yet, it is coming. This is a feature that's coming to all versions of Google Workspace, not just like some of those higher paid tiers. So know that that is coming, which is really cool. Other things that we can do inside of our Canvas space. Eric, go ahead, buddy. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I got a quick question. When you use that to create, did you mention that it puts it into Canva at first?
No, the title is Canvas. So that's the like the tool's name inside of Gemini.
Gotcha. That's what I was, and then it goes to slides, not Canva to slides. Gotcha.
Correct. So when I select tools, I'm looking for the name Canvas. And that's just in terms of like, when I'm creating art, I'm using this as my canvas, not in any connection to like Canvas, which is a learning management platform. That. This is just meaning like I'm working alongside the AI to create whatever the thing is that I want.
And then later on, you put those into Google Slides. Okay, thank you.
Correct. Yeah, no problem. I'm glad you asked. I mean, theoretically, if you wanted it to, you could take it to slides. You could convert slides to, your PowerPoint and then put PowerPoint into Canva if you wanted to. It would be kind of a roundabout, loop-de-loop way, but
okay.
Yeah, that would be one way you could do it.
That answered my question. That's good to know. Thank you.
Okay. Yep, no problem. Okay, so as we are looking at Canvas, other things that I can do in this space. I showed you there before where I can create this, really nice PowerPoint, or at least a thing to get the ball rolling. Know that I also have the capability to like work with code, or to have it create a spreadsheet for me that will export exactly the same way as what you just saw with that slide deck. I also have the ability to do, Google Docs in that manner. So I, ask it to modify or change it up in my prompt over here on the left, and it makes those changes on the right. So think of Canvas really as your like collaborative partner on the things that you would be creating inside of like your Google Drive. So kind of like a little follow along tutorial. Okay. All right. Other things that you may see I'm going to jump back over here to my slide deck for just a moment, and I want to talk about gems. Okay, gems are basically like repeatable protocols within Gemini. So we talked a moment ago where I basically said, like, I hope that you're seeing patterns or that you're coming back to the tool for certain purposes. Gems, or think of gems as a way for you to like save your most frequent conversations. So this is a really great opportunity to like start to personalize this for yourself or for your colleagues. So I'm going to jump over here for just a second and show you where it lives, and then I'm going to show you a couple extra little pluses. Over here on the left, I see the word gems up at the top, and these first few are gems that Google has created. Okay, this one here, I'm going to talk about or speak to here in just a moment, but if you select Explore Gems, then you're going to be taken to this screen where you can see even more gems that Google has created for you. So these, I think we talked about Storybook last time. That's the one where like you can make your own little storybooks that'll read to you, and it has all the pictures and all the other really nice things. That's really fun. But there are even more things that you can do with these gems. You're not just stuck with these 8 that Google has given you. To find even more, I'm going to jump into Google Classroom, and on the left side panel, I see the word Gemini. When I select it, I see all kinds of other gems waiting for me to do different things that, you know, an educator would typically do. Now, when I look at this, or at least when I first looked at this, my mind immediately went to Magic School, and it went to School AI, and it went to some of the other more, I guess, the tools that have de-emphasized the need to have that perfect prompt. These gems just require that you fill in a couple blanks, or that you can, you know, choose from a drop down. And so really what's happening behind the scenes is there's a really rockin' prompt. But if you are utilizing gems, then you can do all of those things once, right? You write that rockin' prompt one time, and then you can keep coming back to it every time you need to write a story or draft a syllabus or tackle common misconceptions. So I'm going to select build a choice board here, and we will get into those specifics after we answer Kim's question. Go ahead, Kim.
For teachers, I'm thinking of the elementary teachers in my building that have been using Magic AI. Would you recommend that we use those gems? Is that going to be equal to or superior to Magic AI? Or, you know, a lot of them, AI has just been so quick, so overwhelming. They find a tool, they use it, they stick with it. But since our district is a Google workspace district, I'm wondering if we should spend more time like training on gems or AI, Magic School AI. I don't know.
Yeah, it's a wonderful question. A wonderful question. So here's what I'll say. Magic School has signed a DPA, and it is good to go for student data privacy. That to me is a huge hurdle. So knowing that, and kind of looking across the landscape for educators specifically, most districts are using Magic School or School AI, right? It's typically one of those two. I feel pretty good about those two remaining relevant as we go forward. So if they like it and if they're having success with it, there's no real harm in continuing to use it, but know that this is available as well. So for those teachers who use Google Classroom or who have that as a part of their workflow, this is just one more area that can support their usage of AI. Now, typically when I use AI, or like I'm in a mode to, you know, to do that, I will look across the top at my tabs, and I'll open 2 or 3 different tools and put the same prompt in, or do the same, you know, clicking or finding that same tool in this case. And then I'm going to run both of them simultaneously. And once I'm done, I'm going to say, well, I like the way that this is worded here, so I'm going to take this piece, and I like that, and I'm going to take this piece, and now I'm kind of Frankensteining my own thing together. so that I am including my own teacher voice. I never want to lose that, right? The moment I turn my brain over to the AI tools to start thinking for me is the moment that I need to find a different profession. So I like using multiple tools, totally up to the teachers, but in just a moment, I'm going to show you a couple features that this can do that Magic School can't, that I'm sure would, flip a switch for some of your educators to go, oh, I need to start using that. I think both of them are pretty similar. The learning curve is very small. So I don't think you have to start picking and choosing. I think these are all, kind of play nicely together in the same bucket.
Thank you. Very well said. Wow. Thank you.
Sure. So let's just look at this example. Like say build a choice board. So I'm just going to throw out a grade right in the middle because, that'll shoot the middle of our attendees here today. And I just picked 6th grade. And then in the topic, it's giving me an example here. It says properties of waves. So I'm going to say properties of waves because I can't think of anything else at the moment. Now you'll notice that there's a button here that says upload from Drive. This is just like that plus sign that we saw in Gemini a moment ago, where it allows you to add your own material, right? So it's going to be based on that if you want to. What I think is nice here in Classroom is you have this button here before you can continue anything. It wants to generate learning objectives for you. So I have selected that button. It basically reads my topic and my grade, and it's starting to suggest some of these learning objectives. This is totally editable. So I can add additional objectives. I could put standards in here if I wanted to. Totally up to you to add or modify. For our purposes here today, I'm not going to, but notice that there's this generate button down here at the bottom. So when I click generate, in this example, it's going to give me a choice board to teach my 6th grade students about the properties of waves. Now, what I'm looking at here is, basically a flat document. So this cannot be modified. I can't remove things. I can't change things, but I get 2 important clicks. And Kim, this goes back to your question here. There are 2 buttons here. They both appear at the top and at the bottom. And this to me is a game changer. So remember, this is free. This is on every version of Google Workspace for Education. It's not an extra feature by any means. I can come in here and one click export this item out to a Google Doc so that now it is a Google Doc, just like every other Google Doc that I've ever created. I can come in here and modify this. Like just looking at this, very quickly, I can see that the approximate time for this is 2 hours. Well, my class is 45 minutes. I can't do a 2-hour choice inside of this 45-minute window. So maybe I want to break this out and become a different choice in my choice board. So maybe I'm going to take that, this blank section on my document over here on the side. Or maybe you come in and you say, well, this wave property guessing game cards, I don't like this sentence. So I need to change it to this because my kids will know what that means. This is editable, just like every other Google Doc that you've ever used. You can, add your own templates. You can give it those things ahead of time. Totally editable, all ready to go for you. When you have that, or even like in place of having that, you get the ability to click this blue button here that says add to class. So now if I wanted to, I could come in here, choose my practice class in this example. It could be any period that you have or any group of students that you have. And then you get to pick specifically what this classwork type or this work type is going to be. When you hit confirm, it's going to flash me into Classroom where I am now inside of that practice class. I can see that up here in the top right. And this is a product just like every other thing I've ever created inside of Google Classroom. I can add the title, I can add the instructions. This is that choice board that we were just working on there a moment ago. I can change this from students can view file to make a copy for each student. I can assign this to specific kids. I can add my due dates. I can assign topics, just like every other thing I've ever done inside of Classroom. But in one very easy click, I was able to push that out directly to my students. In most of the other tools that we see, that is a paid feature. So with Magic School, that's going to be a paid feature. that to me it's a game changer. That's a time saver. That's something that, I'm spending less time on this, so I know I can work more with my kids in real life. I want you to notice this downward facing arrow. When I select it, I get the ability to regenerate or edit the detail. So I can go back in once it's created this for me and go, oh, I missed the mark here. Something isn't right. I can come in here and change this. I can modify this. Okay. Now, as I'm looking at these tools, I notice that some of them have little icons while others have this same generic like star logo. This is the logo for Gemini, meaning that all of the tools that you see here on this page that have that little Gemini logo, those are going to pop me out to Gemini, in which this prompt is already baked in and ready to go. So if I wanted to do a jigsaw activity, I can click it. It then takes me into Gemini, where this really awesome, robust prompt is waiting for me. And now all I have to do is answer the questions. So I don't have to worry about the prompt. I just have to worry about answering the question. Can you tell me a little bit about your goal with this jigsaw? And then from there, off I go. What I want you to notice is this prompt is awesome. So as you're thinking about your own prompting skills, or as you're creating like your own gems, I want you to see these and use these as exemplar. So this is a great opportunity to like consider what a prompt could look like. I'm not saying every prompt that you have needs to look like this, but if you're creating these for other people, or if you're utilizing this again in the future, then it's always nice to change it up so that you don't have to worry about that prompt so much as just having a conversation with a friend, right? If you can communicate it to the tool, then we can see a lot of benefits on that back end once it's created. Laura, go ahead.
So I know you said it can be exported to Google Slides, but can it also be exported to like Google Docs?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. So in that previous example on our choice board, okay, this is a Google Doc, just like every other Google Doc that we've ever created. The conversation that I'm having here, this is like the jigsaw activity. So once I've done it and once I've taken it, as far as I want to take it, I could choose this share and export to docs. I could also come down here in my tools. Remember, I can click Canvas, and that's going to bring up that doc on the side so that I'm having my conversation here and I'm creating this item on the right side of my screen simultaneously. Same thing when you're done with that, there's a blue button up at the top that says export to docs, and off you go. So yes, a really long way of saying yes.
Awesome. Thank you.
Sure. All right. So really wonderful tools here inside of Classroom, but these aren't the only gems that we have to work with. Know that at any point in time, you could go into Gemini, you could go to Explore Gems on the left, and you can create your own gems that are going to appear in this space. So they're going to be saved kind of like little bookmarks for yourself. So if you find yourself using the same protocols, the same prompts over and over and over, consider making a gem so that it would pop up in this space. Now, if you borrow gems, or if you have gems that are shared with you from other people, those will appear down here in the bottom. And you might be looking at those and thinking to yourself, well, where did he get those, or where did those come from? Those are actually from a brand new website, and I'm looking at it in my notes to figure out where the heck I put it. It is on this slide here. This is slide 19. And there's a little white link chain. It's also in the speaker notes. This is a brand new website from our good friend Eric Kurtz. This is called EduGems. And what he has done with some of his collaborator friends is compiled best practices and tutorials for creating gems. And he's put some of his favorites in this space. So think of this website in a very similar way to how we just saw all of these tools within Google Classroom. These are all little gems, like little ways that we can consider our conversations. And if we wanted to use this for like a lesson hook, when I select lesson hook, it's going to jump me out to a page specific to having a conversation about lesson hooks. I see basically the point of doing so, as well as like a few little instructions. And then there's 2 links. So the first one here is use the gem. When I select that, it's going to pop me into Gemini. And to get it to run, at least at the moment, to get it to run, you have to say something. So this isn't just Eric, this is with many of the gems that you're going to see. So I usually just say hi or hello or get started, something like that, and then it will begin to run. So for this one, the prompt has already been created here by Eric. It says, hi, I'm here to help you get some engaging lesson hooks. And then yada, yada, yada. To start, tell me a little bit about the specific content or learning objective that we're introducing. So I can give it a standard. I can give it a part of my lesson. I can add material down here in this add file space, just like every other conversation I've ever done. But this now is that tool that helps me create lesson hooks, which is the thing that I care about doing. And I'm going to do, 5 times a week, every week. This is now saved in there, ready to go for me. So that's really fun. But I'm going to jump back to Eric's page here for just a moment, where you can see the second link says make your own copy. When you hit make your own copy, that's going to jump you behind the scenes here to where you can see Eric's protocol, right? This is his prompt. This is what was created in order to get the lesson hooks prompt. And you'll notice that it's pretty similar to those ones that we just saw out of Google Classroom, right? There are a lot of overlaps. So as I look at it, I can modify these things, change it up to match my particular classroom. I can feed it information as well. They call that, it's like knowledge base. So with the plus sign, I am basically saying, this is what I want this gem to know. And from there, you get to test it out. So this is kind of the preview. This is what it's going to look like. And then you can test it out to see basically, is this actually doing the thing that I want for it to do? When you're ready, you can hit save, and then it's going to be saved in that bookmarks area, like I said over here, where it says the gems that you have created will be right there. That's where that's going to pop up. So shout out to Eric for creating a really awesome website. One of how many that he has created for us. Just add this to the long list of amazing things that he has done. So you can see some of those there on this page, as well as up at the very top. Some ways that if you create some of your own and you wanted to submit them, he's collecting those here and can populate them onto the website, as well as some of these headers up top here to find some of those gems a little bit easier, or to find some of these tutorials. So lots of really great things that can be done inside of Gemini. Okay, that was kind of a crash course on it in a very short amount of time. But like I said, there are a lot of really fun things. It really just comes down to like tinkering and practicing in the tool. So basically like giving yourself meaning or reasons to go inside of the tool, I think is really important in helping to figure out like, how is this going to work best for me? Next, I want to talk briefly about Notebook LM. If you'll remember, Notebook LM is basically a version of Gemini in which you are the person behind the scenes feeding it all of the important information. So this is what my Notebook LM looks like. Notice how I have the ability to create my own new notebooks over here on the side. I can click this button up top to do the same exact thing, but I'm going to jump into this one. This is like my favorite example. I collaborated on this one with a friend of mine here at the office, who is the Perry High School cross-country boys coach and has been so for like a decade or so now. But basically, he has scoured the yearbooks and like all of the other items that have been saved by all the previous coaches, and he has compiled that into these PDFs that you see over here on the side. This includes like race results and yearbook clippings and like runner logs and everything that he could get his hands on. He fed it into the tool. So now this notebook is the expert on this topic. In this example, this is Perry High School cross country. So just like in Gemini, I can come down here to where it says start typing, and I can type in anything that I want to, right? I can prompt it to do anything, just like every other conversation that I've had with Gemini. In my opinion, the secret sauce of Notebook LM comes over here on the right side in all of these studio features. In the past, we have talked about audio overview. That's basically like the podcast. That's one AI voice talking to another AI voice about your topic. You can inject yourself into that conversation as the third voice now, and then it will change and shift and modify those. But they've been adding even more features into the tool. So things like a mind map. This is basically helping you to show the connections between items. So you can see here, like I'm just clicking through on all these little arrows, and you can see, how it's popping out and it's making all those connections for me. I also see things in this studio like flashcards. So when flashcards is selected, you get the ability to work with them just like a flashcard in real life. So when you happen upon something, this question, you click it and then it flips over to the back. If you want it to explain the flashcard, meaning like where did it get this information or how does it know, you can hit explain. And then when you're ready, you can go on to the next card and so on and so on and so on. So those flashcards at the moment live directly inside of Notebook LM. You can't export those out at the moment, but know that I'm sure that capability is coming. Other things that we see. Video overview is phenomenal. So this I referenced when Kim was bringing up vids earlier. And this is basically creating a video component, almost like a narrated slide deck for you based on the information that you have provided here. So this is really fun and really robust, and the voice is like NPR voice. It goes into all of the information that you've included.
From the
It's
coach's
now
perspective,
describing some
and
of
see how
the little individual
that
pieces and
philosophy
parts about my
races.
runners.
Up
It's
individuals
going
to move
specifically into some of those runner logs to
unforgiving.
look at,
54th.
teams.
That is a
This is a runner here, that qualified for state, and it goes into his specific performance. But it has looked at all of this information over here on the left, synthesized those main ideas, and then has created this video overview now called Building a Dynasty, which is really cool. So that video component, phenomenal, no notes, really great. And then the last piece here that is ready to go for you is quiz. This very similar. It's built out for me. I have this question. I can then look in and see, here's my correct answer. I go on and it's next. So I'm practicing this in here. I need you to know that at the moment, notebooks can be shared within your domain. It cannot be shared outside of your domain. So like theoretically, if I wanted you to be collaborators in this notebook, I couldn't do it because you don't have ESC emails, if that makes sense. So I'm sure that functionality is coming here soon. In order to share those out within your domain, you would just hit share, and then you can add those individuals here. Okay, this is a really great way though, that if you want to collaborate on a topic, like something is coming up soon within your classroom or across your grade band, this is a really great way to kind of get everybody on the same page, or at least pulling from that same source. It's also a great way to help students connect basically like, all the important beats of a particular unit. You can feed it the information over on the left, and then, have students work with it over on that right space or ask questions of it. Okay, so a lot to love when it comes to Notebook LM, a lot to love when it comes to Google Gemini. Okay, are there any questions about either of those items or anything I can help clarify for you? All right, let's wrap this puppy up. we have just announced as of Thursday of last week that our conference, our summer conference, is happening on June 2nd and 3rd. This year it's going to be at Lake Middle High School, and I'm really excited about it. We, just always have so much fun over the course of these 2 days. And in my opinion, we offer something for everybody. So if you work with K-12 students, then there is a session or multiple sessions that are for you. And with that in mind, our proposal window is open. So if you have a session or sessions that you think could be really fun, or even if it's just like, I'd like to talk about this, or, I have this little resource and I'm not sure it's a full session, but I just kind of want to, talk about this or see what others think about that. Submit those too. So what happens is on the back end, we get those submissions and then we connect it up to our team of consultants to be able to say things like, hey, this is a really great math session that, they don't think it's anything or it's one individual like resource. How can we turn this into like a half-hour block, or what could we do to make this an hour block? And we love doing those kinds of things. So if you've never presented before, this is a standard classroom size, so it would only be, a smaller space. And in my opinion, is just a really great place to share and to collaborate and to just have fun with other educators. So there's a link in the speaker notes of this slide for you to submit those proposals. Share it with your friends. We would love to have them present. And then we always do our best to get as many, outside of our local area. We always do our best to get as many external presenters as we can to help support. So, I'm thinking about like Stephanie Howell, who was here in our office talking about school AI. She's already committed to come present for us again at our summer conference. So, we always love having her, and I'm sure Eric will have a full slate as well. So just lots of fun coming on June 2nd and 3rd. So I truly hope that you join us then. Okay. If you've never done it before, I wanted to give you some resources. These are just tips for writing a conference proposal. So it's just something to think about as you are considering writing your own. Okay, OETC just closed their call for proposals and sent out their notifications. The OETC conference is on February 10th through the 11th. It is also merging with the Ohio Google Summit this year. In fact, I would say like the people who ran the Google Summit are the people who are now running the Ohio Educational Technology Conference. With that in mind, this year they're doing the Lesson Lab Lives. Those are like little 20-minute demos. Fred Talks, which are like 5 minutes for finding real education. And then these Flash Talks, which are also just very brief, lots of opportunities to learn in a very quick setting. So if you're considering going, I am excited about the future of this conference. I think that partnership is going to give it quite a shot in the arm. So I'm excited about that. You are always welcome to join us. I know most of you are in teaching roles, but at 9 o'clock on the third Wednesday of every month, I help lead a group called Leading for Learning. This is where we get together all kinds of instructional technology leaders across the state. So we get technology directors, CTOs, we get educators, principals, you name it. They all come together with the leaders of many of our like statewide organizations, and we talk about what's going on and how we can all support each other and what we all think about the things happening. So if you cannot attend, but you want to pass this along to a principal, a curriculum director, instructional coaches, that would be awesome. My goal is to have somebody from every one of our districts attend. So I love those meetings, and I hope to see you or someone from your school there as well. And this last piece here, this is just a shout out to Eric's meetings. This is the GEG Ohio meetings, the Google Educator groups. This is 1 p.m. virtually on the dates that you see here. December 2nd is serving as the December meeting and the November meeting. Just because typically not a whole lot of changes come out in either of those months. And just kind of the way that Eric's schedule happened this year, that was the good date to make it happen. So catch up on all things Google on December 2nd and then again on January 29th. These are all recorded and you can watch them all later. The slide or the collaborative doc is really helpful with links to just about everything too. So make sure that you are taking part in that. All right, we've come to the end. Our next meeting will be February 18th. I know it seems like it's really far away, but that'll be our next group meeting here. So think about things that you may want to share, things about, something fun comes across your desk in the next couple months. Think about something that you could share here with our group. But ultimately, I just really appreciate you all being here. Obviously, taking that extra time to extend your days just to talk some nerdy things with me and with our other friends on the call. So I will be the last one out of the room. If I saw right in the notes, I think, Abigail, you had a question. So I will make sure to get that over to you before I jump off here. But if anybody else has any questions or anything they need, feel free to stay on. Otherwise, I hope you have a fantastic day. Make sure that you're filling out the attendance sheet so that way you get those certificates. But other than that, I will see you all in a couple months. All right. Have a great holiday season, and I will see you then. Bye.
Thanks, Matt.
Yeah.